On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to talk about MLW's recent Fusion episode, the debut of the NWA's The Circle Squared, and the Wednesday Night War, and plenty others. Also, we got the Tiger Hattori retirement event. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everybody, this is J-Rod here. First things first, Nico's not here today. Uh, just to keep things short, he's probably going to be in a hiatus for a while. Um, I'm not mad at him or anything. Let's just say things don't go according to plan, or something just happens that gets in front of us, but we just try to do their best. But hopefully Nico can come back and we can do these episodes on and forward. But like the old saying goes, the show must go on, and I'm hoping soon Nico can come back and we can do all this. So let's start out with MLW. So it started out with Gino Medina. Now, first things first, before I start with the match, this entire episode is produced by the Dynasty. So what happened is they were told that everybody's gonna have their own matches. So Gino Medina had the first match against Septimo Dragon, who is currently was on the side of Conan. If you recall, weeks ago, Gino Medina had an opportunity to work with Conan, to be under his wing, but Dynasty kind of convinced him, saying that Conan has just been using him and all this other stuff, and he attacked him from behind and all this and that. So the first match he had was that. Of course, Richard Holiday was right there. Of course, they put this thing right with Septimo Dragon, says he is not a real dragon. They're like, yeah, but they're trying to tell these guys, everybody, how to talk and all this and that. But apparently, Gino won this match. It wasn't enough to defeat him, but Conan, I think he's still not over what Gino did. So that's what happened. Now, when this whole thing was announced with Dynasty producing this particular episode, Mance Warner was asked a question by Alicia Atout, saying, "What is his thoughts?" His initial thoughts were, "Assholes, assholes." Because of that, he was banned from being at the building while during this episode. So yeah, and then there was a promo with the latest upcoming event called Intimidation Games. I'm not sure when. I don't remember when that's gonna happen. But they also announced for a new talent coming, a guy named Eric Stevens. Now his name has popped up several times in the independent scenes. I'm trying to get to know him. Now the next match we had, this one is for the MLW National Openweight Championship that's currently held by Hammerstone. So he put his title on the line against AAA star Aerostar. Now, I'm a fan of Aerostar. I've seen his work with AAA and in Lucha Underground. So, all this and that. And Conan was on commentary for this one in particular. But, of course, this was like a case of David versus Goliath. But the Goliath cheated his way by removing Aerostar's mask. He feels that they should remove their mask because they're hiding their faces. Conan doesn't appreciate what they were doing, but I have that feeling that this is far from over. So there's that. Next match, Team Filthy, consisted of Lawler and Guarini, send a message to the Von Erichs. Von Erichs are scheduled to face the Dynasty, MJF, and Richard Holiday for the MLW World Tag Team titles. So that's going to be huge, in my opinion. Then they talk about Killer Cross. As you all know, Killer Cross is now with the Performance Center. Now, keep in mind, all of the MLW shows are all pre-taped. So basically, it's already been taped, but they haven't broadcasted. So keep that in mind for all of you watching this. And then there was a message from Jacob Fatu to Shima. Now, Shima is set to face Jacob Fatu for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship. That's going to take place in Fightland. Now, we haven't got to that event yet, but we're getting there. Then there was an interview with Davey Boy Smith and the Von Erichs. As you know, it appears the Von Erichs and the Hart Foundation are in an alliance. It's revealed now that Fritz Von Erich, Ross and Marshall's grandfather, was trained under Stu Hart, which is Davey Boy Smith's grandfather. So, to me, I would love to see these two teams team up and form as, like, I like to call it, the super faction. Yeah, it sounds a bit nerdy, but yeah. So I loved it. And then we continue more with Mans, who still got out the building, but he went to get a pack of beer, or should I say, light beer. So he gave Grogan a beer so he can let him through. So of course he sneaked in, worked every time. Then we had another promo with, of course, the return of LA Park. I still don't know yet if he's still going to be supported by Promociones Dorada, because the last time, if you all recall, what was it? He speared Selena De La Renta right through the table, but it was an accident. And then they announced certain things that are going to happen for next week. We had King Mo. He may have another match. Eric Stevens, who's been announced to be there, who's set to debut next week, he actually will face against Douglas James, a local independent in the SoCal area. And then we have Tom Lawler versus Ross Von Erich. Payback for what happened the last time, if you recall. Lawler cost Ross the title. Then we get to the main event, which was the Von Erichs putting their tag team titles on the line against Dynasty's MJF and Richard Holiday. This match was great, brutal. They were trying to make sure, but there was Hammerstone and Gino Medina were nowhere to be found. I'm guessing that they kept them there in order to keep them there, make sure that if things go not their way, then make the attack. It did happen, but except Hammerstone was intervened by a Mance Warner, where he whacked him in the head with the chair, and then here comes Gino Medina, and then they took the fight in the back. But it was a pretty good episode. It was nice that the Von Erichs. I'm not sure if if you'll recall, MJF have already cleared saying that they that this could be their his last time being with MLW. So now he's going to be full-time with AEW. We're just waiting to see what's going to happen next week. So we're still gonna follow up on that. So this is it for the MLW segment. So I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'll be right back with more Deleted Wrestle Zone. Alright, folks, as you all know, NWA Power is on a hiatus. They just introduced a brand new segment called The Circle Squared. Now, this is more like a showcase to find new talent that NWA can sign. They only had one episode right now. They introduced a tag team match. Now, they introduced PJ and Luke Hawks, and believe it or not, this is a father and son duo. Luke is the father and PJ is the son. I was like, wow, this is interesting. I really am sold on this one. They introduced this new guys, but first here comes Nikita Koloff. If you guys know who he is in the NWA world, he was television champion. He's been with the NWA for a long time, but he decided, introduce these guys that he's been coaching, kind of like passing the knowledge, if you can say. So he introduced Jeff Lewis Neal and Tyson Dean. I don't know. I felt like I've seen these guys before. I'm not sure, but let's get to the match. It was great. I love this match, how it turned out. Both teams did great. I was sold on it. But yeah, there was a moment I did saw PJ bleeding from the mouth, but he continued on. I didn't know what to expect. But if you guys want to know who won this match, it became PJ and Luke Hawks, or should we call them Hawks area, as they prefer. So they really impressed me, I have to say. Both teams did, but PJ and Luke Hawks kind of impressed me a lot. So I would love to see these guys go to the NWA because it's a unique team, father and son. Like, we don't get that too many often if you guys are wrestling fans like myself or Nico. But if you guys would like to see that, leave a comment down below. We'll talk about that and probably mention that on my podcast soon enough. So, but let's talk about this during the segment. Now, I found out recently that there was a viral video that came out of a guy jumping off a second-story mall during a wrestling show, and it turned out to be PJ Hawks. I'll try to put that video down below in the description area. But I was amazed, and then it turns out that these guys have like their own wrestling entertainment company. Forgot what they call it, but it's great. So I didn't. I'm starting to think, did they discover these guys because of the video, or it was, or it is something else? I can't say, but I'm like, but it's good. But if you guys should check it out, check out the Circle Squared. So if you guys think you should see more, leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you on that. But hopefully next week we get to see NWA Power. So I'm keeping this one short because there's not a lot. But I decided to put it out there what I thought about the Circle Squared. I love it. I love how they're introducing new talent. I hope there's more talent to look at in the upcoming weeks. And I hope you guys will like that too once you get to know it. So we'll continue on more with the episode, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back right now. So let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling now. This particular event was a special one. This is the retirement event of referee Tiger Hattori. Now, if you guys haven't seen Tiger Hattori ref, you're missing out. But if you have, you know his work, what he's capable of, what he can do. He's one of the veterans refs. It was announced last year he was retiring, and this year, like in this moment where we're at, he was set to retire. So he had like some tours he wanted to do, not only in Japan, but also here in the States. And it started out with like the story about Tiger Hattori, about his life as a ref, matches he participated, you know, they had with Inoki and a few others. But all of it was in Japan. As you know, I don't speak Japan, but if I have a friend who knows how to speak one, I would have had him translate for me. So let's start with the first match. It's the Young Lions facing off the Young Lions that consistent of Gabriel Kidd, Yuya Amuro, and Yota Tsuji versus Tohanare, Tomoaki Honna, and Toki Makame. Now this match was interesting. This one looked more like the Young Lions were learning everything they did. Especially Tsuji, who has been in a rivalry with Tohanare. They still have that rivalry going on, but in the end, this match ended with Honore, Makabe, and Humna winning the match, which is great. Now, let's go with the next match. This one was an interesting one. It started out first with, with Will Ospreay teaming up with Sho and Yo, the Roppongi 3K versus Tiger Mask and the Mega Coaches, consistent of Taguchi and Rocky Romero. Now, before we get into the match, it's been announced now that Will Ospreay is now the new British Heavyweight Champion, where he, in fact, is going to be participating in the heavyweight division with New Japan since now he won this title. Now, he won this title at a Rev Pro event called High Stakes. I think it happened on Valentine's Day, London time. I didn't see it, but I saw some partials they put on YouTube. No, scratch that, Twitter. But yeah, so now he's going to participate. Now let's get into the match. There were some good moments between uh, what's his name, Taguchi and Yo. They're like going back and forth with the pin. So yeah, it's a great match. I enjoyed it. Like, it was pretty interesting. And Nico and I talked about this. What do we thought about now the Show and Yo are going to face the Mega Coaches? I say this is a perfect opportunity to put themselves to the test, to see what they learn from their masters. I got that right. But the winners for this match is Ospreay and Roppongi 3K. And this is going to be an interesting segment. We'll call this a warm-up, as you call it. Now let's go with the next match. We have another 6-man. We have LIJ, Bushi, Hiromu, and Evil facing against Chaos and New Japan members, Yoshihashi, Juice Robinson, and David Finlay. Now, in this match, I've been seeing more of the development with Yoshihashi. He came back stronger after after that injury that he sustained last year, and now he's improving. I like Yoshihashi, how he's training. And as always, this is going to be great to see this. And the winners of this match is, of course, Yoshihashi and Finjuice. I love how they won this match. In the next one, we got one of the retirement matches of Nakanashi. So he teamed up with Nagata, Kojima, and Tenzan, taking on Suzuki-gun members Minoru Suzuki, El Desperado, Kanemaru, and Taichi. Now, you probably ask yourselves, this is probably going to be one of those big events. Reason behind that was because we know Minoru Suzuki, what he's capable of. He's capable of hurting Nakanishi. So, it's kind of great. And Nakanishi has to pull up a win because he's facing against one of the most dangerous individuals, or should I say one of the most dangerous factions within New Japan. So, as always, we know what Suzuki-gun do, but sadly their confrontation wasn't enough. So Nakanishi and the rest of his friends beat Suzuki-gun, which was great. I love it. Now let's go with the next match. We had, lucky me. According to my notes, we're entering where Tiger Hattori is going to do his final refereeing in the matches. So let's talk about that. His first match that he was in, we had Bullet Club members, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Jay White, and Bad Luck Fale, accompanied by Fredos, Gedo, and Jado. They were facing up against Toru Yano, Colt Cabana, and Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, keep in mind in this, Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi are set to face against GOD for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. So they're in the run on this one. So basically, this became interesting because we have seen it. They are scheduled to face in the upcoming events, which is today, I think. I haven't seen it yet, but I will get to it as soon as possible. So, the victors was, of course, Yano, Colt Cabana, Ibushi, and Tanahashi. But Gedo was not too pleased with Tiger Hattori, how this match ended. And, of course, it kind of ended where Tiger Hattori kicked Gedo and Yano in the groin. So, that's what happens when you get in his face, which was great. Now, the final match that happened was LIJ, Sanada, Shingo Takagi, and Naito faced off against Chaos members Goto, Ishii, and Okada. It was a good match. I enjoyed every moment of it. So, at first I thought the way it's going to end where Chaos is going to win, but no, to me I feel this year has become the year of LIJ since Naito is now the champion. So, who knows? But it ended with LIJ winning the match, and then right at the end of the post-match, Tiger Hattori kind of gave you know, the fist pump to all of the members of LIJ because they all know. So, yeah. But now let's jump into the ceremony. The evening ended with the ceremony of Tiger Hattori retiring. So they called out members from Chaos and New Japan. But with the Chaos members, this is what happened on Twitter. It turns out that Colt Cabana came out, but he's not officially a member of Chaos. Someone called him out on that, and Colt Cabana replied saying he's not. He didn't know what to do. Apparently, no one told him he shouldn't be out there. But Yano told him that he's cool. Don't worry about it. So he was okay with the fact that he was doing that. So he stayed throughout the match, but the ceremony was beautiful. Of course, there were a couple of selfies they took with Tiger Hattori. It was great. But of course, he had visits from many wrestlers from the past. One of them, believe it or not, was Keiji Muto. If you guys don't know who he is known as the Great Muta. So he showed up. Great. I'm like, total shocker for me. I'm a big Great Muta fan. So I'm excited. And then we had some video messages. There was one guy I don't know who is, but one was from the founder of New Japan, Antonio Inoki. And of course, the ceremony was beautiful. I won't lie, but we are expecting another ceremony this time with Nakanishi. So I'm not sure if that's coming up next after the one for today. We'll just wait and see. So that is it what we have for New Japan. So we'll get back to this more. I will follow up on the upcoming New Japan events that's taking place, and I'll see you guys in a bit for that one. So I'll be right back for more. Alright, so we're in the Wednesday Night War, so let's check out who won this week. As always, AEW went again, but this time let's see what the views and the rates. AEW Dynamite won with a 893,000 views with the rate of 0.31. Not bad. NXT views 794,000 with the rate of 0.25. Well, close, but yeah. But both shows were good. I like it. So let's start with AEW, what they had for the show. It started out with the tag team battle royal that has been announced a couple weeks ago. Every tag team that is in now. Let me explain the rules. If one member of the tag team is out, the other one does not exit out. He stays in to represent the team. So basically, he's like the last choice, the last hope of keeping the team alive for a possible chance to win the tag team tournament, to win a shot, to get a shot of the AEW World Tag Team title. So let's go with the eliminations from start to finish. First person that got eliminated was Jack Evans of the Hybrid 2. Then T-Hawk of Strong Hearts. Both members of SCU, the reason they were both eliminated was because they were distracted by members of the Dark Order. Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, and that guy who does these, who's in league with the Insulted One, gave them a message, and they got eliminated by both Silver and Reynolds. But they got eliminated by the Bucks with a super kick party. So yeah. So they were both out. And then we have Shima, who's out. That means that Strong Hearts are out. Then Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks. Then both members of Private Party. Then Angelico. Both Jurassic Express, but Jungle Boy got eliminated. But it took 4 people to eliminate Luchasaurus. Don't remember who were the 4, but I'm going to assume it was either the Butcher and the Blade, and Proud and Powerful of the Inner Circle. And then the next person that was eliminated was Chuck Taylor. Trent was nearly taken out, but he was saved by freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. But of course, he got his self knocked in the groin, and then Blade got eliminated. Then Trent, and then we see the Butcher, and then once we get to Proud and Powerful, this is what happened. Um, he had Ortiz on the other side of the ring ropes, and he almost tried to slam Santana, and then he super kicked Ortiz, eliminating himself out, and then here comes Sammy. He flies, and then boom, the way he was kicked. It's on YouTube. I'll put the description down below on that one because that's something you cannot miss. And of course, the winner, it became Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks, so that declares them as the number one contenders of the AEW World Tag Team titles. So so we see now that it's been set they're going to face against Omega and Hangman at Revolution, which is this coming week. And then we see Cody and Brandy arriving along with Pharaoh, our favorite dog. Then we had a women's match with Chris Statlander versus Shauna. Now, as you know, Britt Baker has been hassling a lot of the women's division, so she ended up on the commentary. It was a good match. I'm not going to lie. This is probably one of the best matches I've seen so far with both women, especially Shauna. I haven't seen her for a while, but yeah. But Chris Statlander has now becoming more recognizable for her ways. Our resident alien has surprised us. But she won the match. That's how it ends. And then we jump in with the recap of last week's Dynamite with Rio and Nyla Rose for the women's title, where we witness Nyla Rose winning the title from Rio. There was an interview for Nyla Rose, and Nyla was not too pleased that people not cheering for her. They're saying that Rio may have courage, but it's not enough to take out someone who breaks people. It appears that we may have possible challengers. Chris Statlander's one, and of course, Big Swole. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I'm going to assume probably one of these two women might face off to become number one contender, but we'll get to that part when we get there. Then we see the recap of Jeff Cobb, who surprised us at last week's Dynamite. And we know he's scheduled to be in a match against Jon Moxley. And as always, Chris Jericho had front row tickets, because he wants to witness the demise of Jon Moxley because he does not want to face him at Revolution. But frankly, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen his way. It just ended badly. Then after Moxley won, he got an Inner Circle beatdown as always. But here comes Dustin Rhodes, who still has an axe to grind with Hagar. And it's been said now he's going to face Hagar in Revolution. As soon as the numbers gain, we get a surprise return of Darby Allin. He brought his little skateboard to whack many of the members. Jericho tried to punch, ow. Then Hagar went with the low blow, but it didn't do any good. And then almost everybody's been eliminated. But this was great to see Darby. But I did told Nico this the other night that there is a possibility that we may see Darby Allin and facing Sammy. Sorry, let me go back. Possible we could see a possible 6-man tag team match between Dusty Rhodes, Jon Moxley, and Darby Allin teaming up against Inner Circle's Jericho, Hagar, and Guevara, because that's one of my predictions, but we'll get to that bridge when we get there, when it happens. This might take place before Revolution. Then we see a tag team championship match between our current champions, Paige and Omega, versus the Lucha Brothers. brutal, kind of crazy match, but it was amazing. Was a moment of the miscommunication with um, Paige, and of course in Omega, but that was resolved quickly. So that's, but it was great to see this match. Of course, Paige and Omega won. Here comes the Bucks to congratulate them. Of course, as always, Hangman has been pushing himself away from the others, like stepping away, and of course, as always, he grabs a beer. Now, the main event was a cage match between Wardlow and Cody. Now, I want to put these rules out for all you guys for this cage match. This is not your standard cage match where you climb on top and you win. This one is exactly what some people have been talking about. Why do you need to step out? You can beat your opponent in the cage. The the idea is to use the cage to your advantage, to toss them through whatever steel is there. And it's true. So the only way to win is either by pinfall or submission. So that's what this match ended. Now it came out great, of course. Warlow came out being accompanied by MJF. Cody, he came out accompanied by Brandy and the head coach of the Nightmare Family, Arn Anderson. It was kind of crazy. I think this match is the reason AEW won the viewing, and the rating on this one. Um, there was a moment I saw when the cage door was open. MJF, he thinks he knows people. He thinks you know what you want, Arnaz. You want to whack him in the head because he's trying to prove a point, saying that Cody Rhodes is a liar, a lousy son of a bitch that he is. But honestly, MJF has been lying to himself, and he got whacked in the head by the steel door. He should have known better not to get into Arn Anderson's head, thinking he knows him. And there was a moment he nearly tried to almost try to hurt Brandy, but of course Arn was there to make the save. But he did give Warlow his ring, the diamond ring that he won from AEW Dynamite about a few months ago, and Cody used that against him. But the biggest surprise was the way how it ended, the match how it won. Cody went up the cage and he did a moonsault very high and he won by pinfall. Unbelievable. That moonsault was beautiful. I love it. I just, wow. And then right when he made the celebration, goes back on top and he tells MJF, "What's my name?" And the look on MJF's face, that's what makes good storytelling. MJF started to see everything that he thought he can do to derail Cody from ever going to Revolution, to ensure he doesn't have his match, all backfired. He couldn't. Um, the whole thing with him not touching him didn't work. Neither did the 10 lashes and now Wardlow. So basically, MJF is screwed. So he has nothing on his arsenal to help him to get out, not to face Cody in the match. But now it seems it's going to happen. So we got one more Dynamite to go before we go to Revolution. So that's going to be interesting. And there was a post-match thing that he talked about. It was not aired, but you can sit on YouTube. I'll try the description down below on that one. Where he got emotional because, if you guys know, this took place in Atlanta, where he's originally from, and this is where it all started for him. And of course, he did state it when he ended, he would love nothing more for AEW to come back to Atlanta. So we just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen, and I hope they do go back. And we're still waiting for us in the San Diego area that they come down here. Now let's go with NXT. It started out with Undisputed Era. Even though there's one title that remains, there's that whole thing with Velveteen Dream that issue between Roderick Strong and, of course, Velveteen Dream has been crossing the line towards Roderick Strong, talking about his wife and his kid, and he made it very personal. So, and it's still like it's unfinished business. Now, the first match they started out was, of course, for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship with Jordan Devlin versus, of course, Lio Rush. Jordan Devlin a week ago did stated to Lio Rush that never bet against the Irish Ace. So Lio Rush had to put his game face on because, of course, this is more like he has mentioned to Garza that very week. He's not the same guy that he lost the title to, so he's trying to prove he's now a new, different individual who's willing to get to reclaim what he lost. But sadly, it didn't happen that way. I mean, I have to say, Lio Rush did a lot of great effort to make sure he wins back the title. But sadly, it didn't happen. So now we jump in with an interview with Dakota Kai and her new ally, Rachel Gonzalez. I did not see the TakeOver Portland, but it turns out that this person, Rachel Gonzalez, took out Tegan Knox to ensure Dakota wins. Now, Dakota thought in her mind, okay, she's no longer my problem. Now I'm going for the title. But except it did not happen that way. Appears, what's his name? It appears that William Regal flipped the script. The script. He told him that he will face Dakota Kai. That Dakota Kai will not have Rachel. Sorry, my head's somewhere else. William Regal told Dakota Kai that he will not have Rachel Gonzalez being involved. It will be a steel cage match against Tegan Knox. So that kind of ruined her plans to forget about Tegan Knox and move forward. And, well, that's what happens. Then we were supposed to have a match with Austin Aries, but apparently it got interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa is still trying to understand what happened at TakeOver. I did see the match. I didn't see the whole TakeOver pay-per-view. It appears that Tommaso had everything under control to ensure that he was going to win. But it didn't happen that way. So basically, he's still trying to rap. But he did warn Austin Aries, do not do it. Do not kind of get in his face. But he made that mistake and he got his ass whooped badly. He was tossed around through the guardrails back and forth. But it has been confirmed later on tonight that that Austin Aries will face Tommaso Ciampa next week. So, let's move on. We had an interesting tag team match. We had Raul Mendoza teaming with Joaquin Phoenix versus Grizzled Young Veterans. This was an interesting match. I kind of figured that the Grizzled Young Veterans was going to win because normally we've seen those who've been tag teams for a long time would work. But this is one of those matches that's been put together. But of course, the victory goes to Grizzled Young Veterans. Now, their post-match, Grizzled Young Veterans put the NXT Tag Team division on notice that they're not here to play games. it appears that they are making a statement that they want, and it appears that it could look like they want the NXT Tag Team Championship. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but it does look like they're gunning for it if you pay attention. Now, it's as you all know, have been following a little bit of NXT UK. It has been announced the NXT UK are going to have a takeover event this time in Dublin, Ireland, and this is the home of Jordan Devlin, so he's the Irish Ace, and Finn Balor, of course. So this is going to be great. Hopefully, I get the chance to see it somewhere. Then we jump in with the Brosweights, all celebrating the fact that they won the the tag team championships from Undisputed Era at Takeover Portland. I did see that match. It turned out beautifully. I kind of was hoping they win it because it deserved it. Now, this was announced by Matt Riddle that he is now on 30-day suspension, wellness policy violation. Um, I don't know what he did, but he put on the story to kayfabe saying that he partied too hard, but I don't know. So it appears that we may not see Matt Riddle for the next 30 days after this NXT event. So we'll see. But they did have a match against Orny Lorcan and Danny Burch. Let's just say it's a squash match, but the Broserweights won. It was a lot of fun. Then we go to the locker room where Roderick Strong is still trying to get his hands on Velveteen Dream. Like, Velveteen Dream is still getting into his head about his family, about how his wife Marina will think only about Velveteen Dream, all of that type of thing. So it became personal now on this particular match. Then we see Keith Lee facing off against Kota Reeves. Now, he was about to top, but Kota Reeves wasn't having it. He wanted to get the match going. And then Keith Lee won. Dijakovic wanted to make another shot. Now, Keith Lee won at TakeOver Portland. Now, this is the interesting story I like about this. Those two have been two of the most dominant individuals in NXT. They have done great matches, not only in single competition against each other, but also as a team. So, one thing that led to another, Keith Lee doesn't mind making this whole thing between them run forever. He's down, but he told Dijakovic, make it happen with Regal. Talk to him. I just hope we get there. We get in that moment for that. Then we have a little kind of like some kind of a rematch against Chelsea Green and Kaden Carter. Now, Robert Stone, the manager of Chelsea Green, said that this whole thing was a fluke. This was a right or wrong, that kind of baloney. But all of a sudden, throughout this match, what's her name? Bianca Belair still has a grudge against Charlotte Flair, so she still wants a piece of her. So this turned out to be an interesting, but the way it ended, it was like Robert Stone took out Kaden Carter to ensure Chelsea Green. She thinks that she's ready to get a shot at the title. No, she has to wait. But hopefully, if she gets a title shot, she's probably going to lose against Rhea Ripley. And if I was Robert Stone, stay the hell away from her. So yeah, so thanks to Robert Stone, they won. Now the main event was the grudge match between Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong. As you know, Velveteen Dream is still trying to get into his head, try to ensure that he wins the match and all this and that. So it kind of ended where Dream won, but it ended with the Undisputed Era beatdown. And even though it shows in this particular episode, even though there's one title remaining, the Undisputed are still dominant. So yeah, we just got to wait and see what's going to happen next week. So that is it we got for the Wednesday Night War. So let's move on with the next segment. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is these news updates. These came on throughout this entire week. So let's start with the first one. As part of the AEW catalog, there's three things that come in. We have they announced a new podcast for AEW called AEW Unrestricted. Is hosted by our very own commentator Tony Schiavone and our favorite referee Aubrey Edwards. Now I started listening to it. You can see it on either the Apple Podcast, and it's been also checked out. It's going to be on Spotify. So whatever podcast platform you guys listen to, uh, you can catch it on those. So I'm currently watching, and the first guest they have is John Moxley. So then we have for AEW, Cody has been interviewed that there was a possibility in 5 years they could move Dynamite on Mondays. We don't know for sure if that's the case, but he did say that it could be a possibility. We are still waiting for that till we get there. So basically, we may see another version of a brand new Monday Night Wars that could stand up against Raw. Who knows? But this will take place maybe in 5 years or so. So we'll get there when we get there. And final thing is, you all recall, AW was in Atlanta. They spotted a former WWE star, former Impact Wrestling star, ROH. We're talking about Austin Aries. Now, it's still unclear what is going on. We don't know if he's signed with them or what. If you guys know Austin Aries, you know for a fact he's very difficult to work with in various promotions. I mean, Impact had to deal with him, so did MLW, so did many other promotions. I don't know if AEW are smart enough not, they should turn him away because I don't know. But yeah, and this was announced today on Thing Wrestling Inc. William Regal's son Bailey Regal, who goes by Joe Bailey, has it's been announced that he is now a young lion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So yeah, now we may get a chance to see him in New Japan if you pay attention. If you have the Live on Demand, uh, you may see him. If not, then subscribe to it. So I'm excited to see. I don't know exactly what angle is this being played, because I would have assumed wrestlers' sons who are part of WWE may end up with WWE, but I don't know what's the purpose of his son going to New Japan Pro Wrestling. But we'll we'll see what happens. But hopefully he gives a good impression to all New Japan Pro Wrestling fans. So I think that is it for today. We'll continue more with DWZ. So on behalf of me of DWZ, I'm J Rod. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye and have a nice day. Bam.